Is Kareem there? Are we ready to roll? Okay. All right, so welcome everybody, and those who have joined us here, and those who joined us online, hello. We've been talking all day. This is a group of laser leaders from all over the country, a lot from the UC. Some joined us online. And now we're going to present very short PechaKucha style talks that basically mix up work as artists with the lasers that are led. And we're going to move through it very quickly so you get a sense of the diverse number of approaches and people and places. And with that, I would like to introduce Danielle Siambeda, who did the lion's share of the work and has been doing it and is doing it. And she'll say hello, and then she'll start by telling us a little bit about lasers in general.
Okay, thank you very much. And I assume Michael is do the slides?
You can go to the podium.
Oh, go to the podium. Okay.
She can keep
Okay, great. All right. Well, I have a little bit longer than 2 minutes, but I'll be as quick as possible. All right. Art SCI. I'm Danielle. Okay. Find me on Danielle@Leonardo.info. Great. So, how many of you have heard of Leonardo? Most of you. Okay. All right. Everybody is. Okay. I'm not going to explain to you what Leonardo is. I'm very happy to have an audience that is connected with us. You can find out more at Leonardo.info. But I am going to talk very briefly for those online and for documentation reasons a little bit about the background. So Leonardo was founded by an astrophysicist, Frank Molina, in 1967, actually. Our anniversary starts next year in 1968, even though we're celebrating already. But he found that there was a major need for artists and scientists around the world to start collaborating together. And so he founded the Leonardo Journal, which at that time was the only media at the time that showcased collaborations between artists, scientists, and technologists. Now, what does Leonardo actually do? Okay, we're more than just a publication. We facilitate critical thinking in the arts, sciences, and technology through the creation and exchange of ideas. All right. That's a little bit of what we do, but what people know us by is our publications. In print, we have Leonardo Journal, Leonardo Music Journal, and Leonardo Book Series. Leonardo Journal with its 50 years of publication, and the Music Journal coming out once a year, and we have a few dozen books, all printed through MIT Press. And we also have several online publications, including a yearly almanac of what has happened in the community of art science at the time. We have an abstract service database, which is for graduate students to publish their theses. And then we have monthly reviews, and these aren't reviews of books only, but they're reviews of books, exhibitions, compositions. And then we have our sister organization, Leonardo Olatz, who also contributes to the journal and has its own programming. Now, one of the most recent things that we've done is an aggregator called Arteca, which is a curated space of art, science, and technology content, both published and also great literature and ephemera, with MIT Press and built with the UT Dallas Art SCI lab. It's available right now to most libraries around the world. So that's what we do on the publication side. Program-wise, did you all know that we have an artists and scientists residency? Yeah, we bring together 6 artists and 6 scientists for 30 days out of the year to spend time at the Jurassic Resident Artist Program in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we've done that for 4 years in a row, and it has been fantastic. We've seen lots of collaborations come out of that program. We also have a community called the Leonardo Education and Art Forum. This is an online and offline community that meets online through a Google group and then offline at conferences like Isaiah, SIGGRAPH, and others around the world. We have several LEAF chairs in this room, past and present, and we have a fantastic community of educators in this space. But what we're here today about is actually our largest program, which is Leonardo Art Science Evening Rendezvous. You can find out more about those at Leonardo.info/laser talks or on social media with the URL laser talks at the end. Right now we're in almost 30 cities around the world. Here's just a sample of them. In this room you'll hear from several of them. I want you to be able to engage with them. They have bridged departments on universities. They created collaborations. They've triggered interesting discussions. They've been thematic and non-thematic, and they're growing very rapidly. So if you want to know more, you will learn all of that about that tonight. How does Leonardo do all of this work? Well, we don't do this by ourselves. We're a tiny organization of 3 people, and we have a very small budget, but we are partnership rich. We have fantastic partnerships. Here are some of our main partners: MIT Press, SIGGRAPH, UT Dallas Art SCI Lab, the NEA, Jurassic, and of course, all of the laser hosts in the room are our core partners. We also have an enormous network of people, from scholars, theorists, change makers, top-ranked universities, innovation labs, artists, and award-winning scientists. So being part of the Leonardo Network is being part of this team of geniuses. Now, what's next? We're about to celebrate our 50th anniversary. So far we've had 6 celebrations this year, even though it's 2017. Next year we'll have about another 15 of them. And we are celebrating all around the world by asking our community to connect with us. We've had very important artists and pioneers throughout history, like Eduardo Koch and others who are actually in this room as well, who have participated in Leonardo's building since day one. If you're familiar with organizations like Isaiah, and Rhizome, Ars Electronica, we all had connected in those beginnings. So now, as part of our network and networks, Leonardo is reimagining its future with you at the forefront. We are not designing from the inside out, from the outside in. So please come along with us on this journey of rediscovery and re-innovation. Why? Because the ideas that lead to critical breakthroughs can come from any direction. So please join us at leonardo.info. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Leonardo ISAS. And I encourage you to ask lots of questions to the fantastic people in the room who are all part of why this is possible. Thank you.
So that was an amazing introduction and so quick. You just proved that 5 minutes is a lot of time in media time.
Yeah.
So next we have Tammy Spector, who is the chair of the Laser Committee and Laser San Francisco.
Hi, I'm Tammy Spector, and I'm a professor at the University of San Francisco. And actually, San Francisco is where the lasers started with a person named Piero Scaruffi, and he started them in 2008. He just had an idea about having artists and scientists and technologists come together in the same space, in the same room, in order to talk to each other and just talk to each other about one another's work and have some networking with each other and just conversation. And it grew into this room that we're in right now with all of these laser hosts. So this we always show at the beginning of our lasers at USF and at Berkeley and at Stanford. And it's all the pictures. At this time, it was January. This was from January this year, of all the people who have presented. We just get smaller and smaller pictures as we go along. Okay, so they're getting pretty teeny as we go along here. So I like to show that photo. And we have, I should say, I'm an organic chemist, so it's a little unusual. I'm not an artist, but I'm an organic chemist who loves art and is very engaged in art side tech stuff, and I'm on the Leonardo board, so I should mention why I'm even talking about this as an organic chemist. And then these are our intro slides that we always use when we're starting our lasers, and they're, this one's only goes up to 2016, because that's the one I could find for this presentation. But just adding in all the lasers as they're building up with time. And we currently have 30 lasers worldwide going on, which is pretty phenomenal when we started with one in San Francisco long ago. And then we have a slide, as I'm showing here, of the various ones in the Bay Area. And the ones in the Bay Area sort of alternate every other month. So at USF, we have it every other month. And then in Berkeley and Stanford, as you can kind of see here, they're both in the same week, but they're completely different communities, so we're able to connect to different people in different parts of the Bay, which is the point there, and it really does draw whole different types of communities depending on if you're at Stanford or in San Francisco or in Berkeley, as you can imagine. So that's really the main things that I wanted to say, and I think Victoria's next.
So I wanted to just say a little bit about how we started here. I'm in the Department of Design Media Arts, professor there. After chairing for about 5 years, I thought it would be a good thing to step down. And what do? I started Art Science Center. One part is at Broad Arts and the North Campus, and then we're here in South Campus. It was really important to me to have 2 places. Both are on the 5th floor. It's not a coincidence. And I've had people who said to me that they haven't been to one or the other side of the campus in 10, 20 years, whatever. So we're doing something. Just to show you what we're doing now, right at this moment, we partnered with Marisa Coicello, who's the curator at the Building Bridge Gallery in Bergamont Station, and the International Association of Synesthetes Artists and Scientists to create an exhibition, a symposium, and we also had a book signing, a performance, and the symposium was here. The exhibition is still in the gallery. You can see it until November 23rd. A fantastic show, and we're trying to now, we're actually going out into the community more. We bring community here, but we also want to be in the gallery space and science spaces and lab spaces and go in and out. I've learned so much about synesthesia through this process. It's really exciting, and everybody who participated too. And finally, just to mention about these meetings here. They change. They're sometimes thematic, sometimes not, sometimes very crowded, sometimes not. But we always create a kind of a magic. There's some kind of connection that happens in an emergent way. And I've learned to trust that. I've learned to just allow it to happen, whatever happens. And I really encourage that for anybody who's interested in engaging and encouraging this kind of dialogue. So we have open calls, and we have closed calls, we have tight circles, we have wide circles. It really depends, just kind of going with the flow. And this night is particularly exciting to me because when we started, Tammy, there was one group, and it's less than 10 years later, and there's 30 groups around the world. So there's a tide turning, and it's very exciting. Thank you for all being here. And now we got Timothy Hyde.
Hello, everybody. So I co-chair the laser series for UC Davis with my colleague Jai Young. I teach in the Department of Art Studio at UC Davis, and so I'm going to show you 3 works. Give you a sense of where I come from. So how do I just push it?
Just for
So I'm here with all my. I feel it's going to be so rude. I have to leave in a few minutes. I'm here with all my stuff. On Saturday, I install this work, which is a 7 by 8 foot backlit installation that is lit by reading the ambient light of the room, so it always functions and reads as twilight, depending on, regardless of whether the light temperature of the room you're in. So I've been working on this project, a series of 15 images for the last 2 years. This is called Entre Chien et Nous, which is between wolf and dog near the Canadian border. A lot of my work deals with the physical materiality of time in photography. This work is a physical piece made from 5 different moments in time, a single figure, and a piece of architectural material, mapping out speculative structures in the air, and then cutting and reassembling them onto a plane. So third is a collaboration I have with this Italian artist, Andrea Galvani, called the Skull Sessions, in which we turn conversation into spaces, publications, and materials. And the collaboration I've had with Jai Young, with Laser, and with hopefully some of you in the future is something I really enjoy in my practice. Thanks, you guys.
Now we have Jane Mee, who is actually an alumni from Design Media Arts, and she's teaching all over the place now.
Yay!
But we're very proud of you.
Thanks. My name is Jane Mee, and I am actually full-time at Pepperdine and part-time at UC Santa Barbara. We just started Laser there last year in the spring, but the video I'm going to play today is of a fellowship that I had at the College of Creative Studies. They've been a huge partner for Laser, including helping to host Bill Fox next week. Yeah, so we're just going to let the video play and step aside.
Are you playing it?
Oh, I have to hit the...
You actually have to play.
What, I don't have a TA? No, I'm kidding. I don't have any TAs at Pepperdine.
Shame.
I'm just kidding. I've been a TA for too long. I don't have any TAs at Pepperdine.
Backpedaling, backpedaling. Is there sound?
There's sound playing already.
When I was invited to come be a fellow, Prince passed away, and he has this amazing vault of work that none of us have ever seen. As we make work, there's so much work involved that it's not necessarily what's published or what becomes the final artwork. And so the B-sides was more about all of the experimenting, even some of the dead ends, but just about the practice and the process of practice in general. I think maybe the last couple hundred years we've separated out the art and sciences, and they actually go hand in hand.
Jane brings a very interesting perspective on the natural world from an engineer's viewpoint and an artist's viewpoint, giving the students a really fascinating insight to humans' place in nature, humans' relation to nature, humans' relations to each other.
The next lecture I gave was the plenary lecture, which was actually about my work. I spoke about how I came to become a video artist. A lot of my work has to do with poetics and being present.
The Transdisciplinary Fund will allow seminars that will involve our students, who are by their nature highly focused and specialized, to view across boundaries and to interact with each other in a way that other resources within the college do not permit.
I found that when I was making sculpture, if I moved beyond paper, a lot of the things I was making weren't biodegradable. And as you walk on the beaches, almost everywhere in the world now, you will find trash, and most of it comes in the form of plastic. I was interested in exploring, well, what can we use to make plastics that is biodegradable, and is there a way to experiment about that? So we used agar, gelatin, and starch to make a series of plastics so that the students could experience making a plastic. It was really nice because as the students were cooking, they didn't have to worry about the fumes coming from everything because it was all environmentally friendly. I think that this new generation will invent things that will significantly change some of the major problems we have.
It's 3 minutes. You have to stop it.
There are very few programs that actually support this transdisciplinary idea of being, to have that level of interaction with people.
I will send you guys the link.
Have that also.
Okay, how do I go to the next
Just
slide?
forward.
There, David.
Thank you. now we have David Famillion, who's been involved with the Art Science Center on many levels, and was chair of Leonardo Education Art Forum, and is really a proponent of art science collaborations, including his own work.
So I'm the artistic director of the Beale Center for Art and Technology. We've been around for 17 years. I've been there for 12. And we curate works that both use computationally based works, but in group shows we show all kinds of media. We're very interested in intermedia and expanded media, where more than one medium's used. And our laser talks, we've just started 2 a year. We do 4 a year. 2 are connected with our exhibitions. So the first one we did was connected with embodied cognition, which was an exhibition based on embodiment, and then masculine feminine that was based on gender. And that was probably our best laser talk. We had a whole group of, we had artists, psychologists, a whole range of one of the producers of Transparent. So it was a really interesting group of people. And then we just had one on the show that's up now called Drawn from a Score, which is exploring the relationship of John Cage's work to computationally based works of today. And there's Drawn from a Score. Literally that piece you can draw with. And I think that's it. Thanks. Be quick.
Oh, someone needs to advance because we don't know who's next.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Patricia, it's you.
I didn't do my job.
Next is Patricia Olynyk, who's the chair of the laser in New York City with Ellen Levy.
Right.
And they've been doing it now for 4 or 5 years, right? Even more.
8.5 years.
Oh my goodness. Time flies.
Gray hair.
Yes.
Look at this, look at this. It's aged me. Okay, anyway, really lovely to be here. Thank you. So as Victoria said, I am the co-chair of the Laser in New York with Ellen Levy, and I'm also the director of the Graduate School of Art at Washington University. I engage scientists in the making of my work. I periodically collaborate with scientists as well in my work. My work always has some kind of art science technology theme running behind it. And the piece that I developed during an invitation to show here a few years ago is called Dark Skies. I'm interested in the biological and psychological need for darkness. So this particular piece is a 2-channel video on a dimensional wall that is based loosely on the surface of a wild mouse taste bud. But when you look at the sculptural surface itself, it fluctuates between a kind of micro-macro kind of effect. And so the 2-channel videos are coming to the piece at raking angles from either side. One side is very dark with these kind of Milky Way formations. The other side is vespertine sky. And then there's spatialized sound in the room of all of these creatures coming out at night. So really the piece gives you the affective experience of seeing the sun go down over and over and over again. I'm interested in what it does to human consciousness when you can no longer, we live in a world where we can no longer really observe the world around us. So this piece I'm looking to extend soon. This was a piece that I did for the Jordan Hall of Science. Again, a piece about micro-macro where I was playing with this notion of embedded messages in nature, so these particles of indefinite scale come together, coalesce and decoalesce and form different symbols. It's kind of it's larger than life, humorous in places too. And my last piece that I'll talk about is something called the Mutable Archive. I also work with medical archives in some of my work, and I was the Francis C. Wood Fellow at the College of Physicians in Philadelphia a few years ago. I worked with collections from I worked with a physiognomy collection and photographed postmortem skull tattoos with 19 subjects. And so this piece exists as a series of photographs with the accompanying archive cards. And the other part of the piece is that I'm commissioning writers to write speculative biographies about these subjects, and then they're being acted as performance videos. Victoria is a collaborator on this, Shimon Addy, Ellen K. Levy, Chelsea Knight, and a few others. So all of it's available on my website. Thank you.
Next we have Siddharth Ramakrishnan.
I knew, she told me.
Siddharth was a postdoc at UCLA here in neuroscience, and then in New York City. So we started working here, then I went to New York, we started working there, and now he's in Seattle, and we continue to work together. But
Yeah.
he's doing a lot in art science at the university.
So I met Victoria about 10 years ago, and I come to it from a scientist perspective, and I worked on snails, and snail brains look like bikini tops. And so if you look at a yellow polka dot bikini, it's inspired by snails. And record from neurons. And I also worked at Columbia, where I used to kind of interface between neurons and microchips. And now most of my work, which was continuation of work at UCLA, is looking at neurons that control reproduction. And this is a tiny little zebrafish with the neurons that control reproduction tagged with a green fluorescent protein. I've had a fifth grader look at that image and say, oh my God, it's an alien, but it's not. It's just cool fish heads that we look at every day. But since I met Victoria, I've been collaborating both with her and other artists and kind of creating art and science projects. And this is part of the sniffing booth that we started working together, where we wanted to kind of highlight how dog smell is better than human smells. And then we've been working almost for about 10 years now on the Hawks Zodiac project. And now it's almost a cookbook where recipes are being accumulated. And that is a more recent work where you can have petri dishes, which are wearables, to collect microorganisms from around the world. Since 2013, I've been organizing art and science salons at the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma. And we've had a whole host of different kinds of art and science salons, from getting physicists and artists together to talk about climate change and how they react to it. We had Saya Woolfolk from New York come down and talk about her almost ethnographic take on a new race. And we've had Burning Man people talk about wearable art and the electronics behind them. So we have a whole host of programming that goes on. And we're very excited to build this new community of art and scientists and the intersections. And our mantra is come, converse, collaborate, and we hope that a lot of collaborations arise out of this whole thing. And this has been a great meeting so far here today, and it's been a lot of exciting information is being exchanged. So I'm hoping we can push this forward and keep going forward. So.
Thank you. And we're so excited that Clarissa Ribeiro is here with us. She came from Brazil. She was an artist in residence for a year, and we still miss her. So, so happy to see you here.
So
and
I still miss you and all the team. So thank you, and thank you for such a special evening or a special day together with all you guys. So I just started the laser talks in Fortaleza. It's the first one in Brazil, and everybody there is excited. And the laser talks are mainly connected to two projects I'm coordinating there at the University of Fortaleza in the northeast of the country. There are the Cross Lab, that's my research group, and the Lab for Innovation and Prototyping. They're laughing. Jane is laughing about the poster that I made. Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, as I'm inspired by the Art SCI magic, as Dara said, and the events, they are themed and monthly. So I organized the one in September, and it was called, let me see, this one here, that you can see the audience, half of the audience mainly. And we have a discussion around cross-scale and cross-realities incursions. We had an art director or a director from MIT, a dentist, a couple of designers, computer scientists for this one. And for the one we had last week, that's this one, Man Machine, the Model, and the Robots. And I made this poster inspired by the Kraftwerk art for the vinyl, the old one. And we had a physician, computer scientists, engineers interested in robotics, an artist from Berlin. And so we had discussions on artificial intelligence, human and humanoid relations, and together with the talks, or maybe after the talks, as we have here at the Art SCI, but like in a small format, we have always an exhibition in a gallery or mainly a corridor we have at the lab, this lab that I'm coordinating, and mainly the exhibition is related to the talks. I hope someday I can have you guys there visiting and, well, inspiring the people in Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Next we have Nina
And
Zigledi.
so, this is the main thing there. And we have Nina.
So Nina Zigledi is the co-chair of Laser Toronto and Montreal, and she does everything Leonardo for many years. And she was also co-chair together with me of the Leonardo Education Art Forum.
The very beginnings.
Very beginning, yes.
So I will not show anything about my own work or anything about my other activities. I would like to actually show the work which Roberto Buoni, my co-chair in Toronto, has sent. So this is the Fields Institute in Toronto, which is an independent research institute of mathematics and physics, but connected to the University of Toronto. And this is actually from the event which we did together with the Faculty of Theatre, the Digital Drama Lab, where we brought together, the theme was energy, and we had physicists and also performance artists. And the performance artists gave talks in the Fields Institute, and the physicists gave talks. They are very close together in the drama lab, and in between we had mini performances walking from one building to another. And I don't really know which one is this one now, but this is the Field Institute where we have one of them, because they didn't show this to me, they just sent it to me. And this is about artificial intelligence and visual interpretations. And this is from Montreal, and we work with Hexagram, which is an art and science research network. And this is the first laser we did in Montreal. I have to tell you that because Montreal especially is bilingual, Canada is bilingual, but in Montreal several of the lasers are conducted in French, which sometimes causes little problems. Or actually in North America you don't say problems, challenges. And this is a very interesting one because this was a reenaction of a performance in the snow, and this was the first such performance in actually not only in Montreal, in Canada, which was not in a theater, but it was outside, and it was in 1949, and Françoise, who is now 90-some years old, and she's a brilliant lady, and she participated when we talked about this performance. And this is the one I talked during the day. This is about multisensory perception, and this gentleman here, the white-haired gentleman, is David Hawkes, who is a very famous author on sensory perception. And beside him is a choreographer, Armando, who talked about the sensory perception of touch. And we have someplace Jean Gagnon. He was the one who was a tango dancer. And this one is actually on October the 6th. And this was a Leonardo 50th and laser combination. And we are having here a round table with Roger Molina and Louis Poisson. And I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He is Saudi Abrim. And it was about interdisciplinary education and the impact of AI on education. And thank you so much.
Next we have Jia Young from UC Davis. They're working with Tim, right?
Yes, hi. I'm Jia Young. I'm a professor at UC Davis in the design department.
Can you speak in the microphone, please?
Sure.
Because we're streaming.
Sure. And I work with Tim Hyde to put on laser at Davis. So it's we've only done that for 1 year. This is our 4th one coming up in November, which will have a neuroscientist whose research is on memory and music. And we will have a solar product designer who makes public art out of solar charging stations. And then we'll have an artist from San Francisco who's going to be talking about his work on social inequality. And so I guess I'll just quickly show you my work. I build large-scale installations, immersive environments that's sensor-driven. I guess I'm supposed to be here. Yes. Sensor-driven and data-driven, sensor-enabled. My inquiry is always about the human condition, birth, death, happiness, aspiration, the need to talk to each other, communication with each other, having conversations face-to-face, or having conversations with interstellar communication, with social media today. So this work right here is actually the beginning of a very long-term projects that I hope to map out a landscape of human aspiration, and working with physicists to create large, powerful lasers to encode messages of aspiration from Earthlings to be sent out to outer space. But it's not really for extraterrestrial lives. It's really about what it means for the human to, very much about a question of are we alone? Why are we here? And who do we talk to? And what is it about living on Earth? And this second project is about how messages propagate on social media. This is mapping of the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Many of us have a lot of questions, and the project is very much about how the message propagated, and human communication versus Twitter bot communications, and how the two propagated, influenced each other. And this last project is about constructing a space out of light and colors to create a space for storytelling. And the project is about the part of my graduate degree is in physics, so I'm very much intrigued by optics, how light reflect and refract with each other and create this sense of awe for the human, and what that relationship is for storytelling. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And last but not least is Scott Thorpe from Augusta.
So I'll try to bring it home. So I'm Scott Thorpe. I'm chair of the art department at Augusta University. And it's just a pleasure to be here with you guys today. It's an inspiring group, to be around so many people that are so active. But so the way I approach it is a little different. We all approach it differently. But what happened was when we originally created our first laser, it went over really well. by surprise. We didn't think it would go that well, but it did. It attracted people and the president and the upper administration. So what I did was, naively, I took it in front of the provost council and I sold it to the university, and I said this needs to be a university endeavor. And with that, I told them it would, if you put art and science on a stage, you'll have collaboration, you'll have engagement, you'll have cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary stuff happening. And they believed me. And so what we've done is I've given up control of these things. I basically organize it in a way, but I go to different departments and colleges in the university and they host them. So I go to like this first one here. I'm going to show you two. The first one here is probably has the least depth with regard to either art or science, but it has the most profound outcome. The second one is probably the most emotional outcome that we had. So this is the College of Education right here. And what we did with this one is we focused on STEAM education. I don't really pick themes, but if they want a theme, they can have a theme. And so with this one, they chose STEAM education. We had a person with a PhD in STEAM education. We had Eric Parker, who's a local guy. He's from the Stanford D School, tech innovation startup type person. And he talked about 3D prototyping. And then we also had a high school teacher from the area talking about utilizing design thinking in her classroom. And we drew a bunch of people from the local area who were educators outside the institution. One was a principal of an elementary school, Sue Reynolds Elementary School. And from this, she got together with Ashley Guest, the STEAM educator, and they changed their whole curriculum to be STEAM education because they knew STEM was coming, but she thought her kids needed something else. And so they are now jumping ahead of the STEAM certification and becoming a STEM certification, becoming a STEAM school. So we basically changed the lives of a bunch of kids from that. So collaboration did help, and it was really cool. We had so many questions. I mean, these things, we've taken them, we do fewer bigger ones, but we do draw quite an audience when we do that. This one was the most touching. Yuri Rozicki, he does medical orthosis. That's the one on the right, where he does 3D printing. This is with the College of Allied Health, and it's surprising what they come up with as their themes, what they want to talk about. They wanted to be the art of healing. That's what they chose, Allied Health. That's the medical side of the institution. And so they did that one. The middle slide is Mallory Lanier. She does dance therapy with autistic children. So she brought them in and they danced and she showed us what it was about. And then from there, we brought in Wycliffe Gordon. He's the #1 trombonist in the world, jazz trombonist in the world. And he talked about basically how to engage his instrument, and a story about, was it Louis Armstrong, and how in the studio he played for an audience that wasn't there. And because they always just asked Louis, they said, "Who are you looking at?" And he said, "Those people." And so Wycliffe gave us this example of what that means, and he stared into nothingness, and he made us cry. And it was really amazing. And it's what happens when you put things that are unexpected on a stage together, unexpected things will happen. And we've created an emotional appeal between the arts and sciences that my school really believes in now. And what it's done is it's taken the art department from the fray and put us in the middle as a tangible part of what we're doing in the university. And as we look forward, they really are investing in this whole idea that collaboration can happen, and thanks to Laser, the perfect vehicle to put it together. So thank you very much.
So there you go. That was a little taster session for you guys. You can see how quickly you can get a sense of who does what. I'm convinced that in the super complex world we're living in, we need this kind of diversity. And the North-South campuses all over the planet need to come together. The left and right brains need to come together. So it's really wonderful to see how this is just taking off so beautifully. And I would like to ask Danielle to give some last few words about what if other people want to join or create their own lasers, and why don't you come here and say a few words? And then what we do afterwards is just drink and eat and talk. The real collaboration.
All right. Okay. So we've had a very long and interesting day. I'm telling you, Leonardo is so small in terms of like actually who works there. It's like me who does anything that's not publishing, and then everybody else that's just publishing stuff. And it's amazing to me. Like people ask, well, how do you get things done? And I just say, it's not me, it's you, it's everyone else. Like I just help facilitate in a lot of ways, and
Come on.
but I'm just so impressed and touched. And one of the things that I want to say is that I'm human and flawed, and this program is like, it feels so human because it does have a lot of flaws, but it has actual emotion to it and passion behind it. And it's iterative, and it's learning in itself. It's growing within itself, and I'm growing with it, and I'm learning with it. And so all the feedback from everybody today who said, I don't want to see this happen, or can we see this happen? And it really, and like, why should we care about this? And that type of response is so crucial for somebody like me who has to think about these things. To make that actually happen and think, really why? And to not assume that we know how to do this, to really keep asking back and trying something and then putting it back out there. And I think everyone who's been a laser host has been very patient in this iterative process as we've grown from when I started a year and a half ago, we had 9 lasers, and now we have almost 30. It really surprises me. So if you want to get in touch with us and become a laser host, just go on to Leonardo.info/laser talks. Find out where a laser is near you. If you want to know how to start your own laser, click on the laser host tab, and there's a quick application. You do not have to be part of a university. You can be independent. You just have to be serious about starting it. And then if you want to speak at a laser, there's some information about it there. If you want to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Laser Talks. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to lasertalks@leonardo.info. And we're here for you. And we hope you come to any of the lasers all around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there's some wine left back there.
You didn't drink it all, Victoria?
Yeah. I'm driving home.